I had a gut feeling my wife was gearing up for a divorce, so I safeguarded my finances. 2 weeks later, she filed, only to retract when her scheme fell apart. Hey everyone! Before we dive into today's story, I could really use your support. Our channel's been losing some steam lately, and hitting that subscribe button is a huge way to help us keep going. It's free, quick, and ensures we can keep delivering the content you love. Your support means the world. Let's grow this community together. Thank you so much. Now let's get into the story. Hey folks, I've been lurking in online forums for a while, never thinking I'd have a story of my own to share. But life has a way of throwing curveballs, and I've been carrying this weight for months. I need to get it off my chest. Let me be clear. I'm not one to jump to conclusions or assume the worst. My wife, let's call her Kay, and I were together for 6 years, married for 4. Things felt strong, or so I believed. We had our share of highs and lows, but nothing screamed trouble. For most of our relationship, we were that couple. Partners in crime, totally in sync. We'd crack up over silly private jokes, bicker endlessly about which movie to watch, and had a rhythm that just clicked. She'd plan thoughtful date nights, and I'd surprise her with her favorite takeout after a tough day. It felt natural, like we'd cracked the code to love. So, when things shifted 6 months ago, it hit me like a freight train. At first, it was small things, easy to overlook if you weren't paying close attention. She started keeping her phone glued to her side, even for quick trips to the kitchen or while doing laundry. Before, her phone would sit untouched on the counter for hours, and she didn't care who saw it. One day, I teased her, "What, are you running a covert operation now?" She laughed it off, saying, "Work's been blowing up my inbox." Fair enough, I thought, but a few days later, she set a passcode on her phone. That threw me off because she'd never bothered with one before. When I casually asked why, she mumbled something about privacy and cyber threats. I didn't push, not wanting to seem paranoid, but it felt wrong. And it didn't stop there. She started taking calls in private, stepping out of the room or onto the balcony. If I asked who it was, she'd brush it off with, "Just a coworker." Then I noticed a new quirk. She'd place her phone face down on the table. I didn't even know that was a thing until I reached for something near her, and she quickly slid her phone away. It was a fleeting moment, but it stuck with me. A growing disconnect. It wasn't just the phone, though. She started feeling distant. Our easy, flowing conversations turned into a chore. When I mentioned future plans, like where to go for our anniversary or saving for a new car, she'd give vague replies like, "Sure, we'll figure it out," and change the topic. It all crystallized one day when she said she was meeting a friend for coffee. I happened to be nearby running errands, so I thought I'd surprise her. It'd be sweet, right? But when I got there, she wasn't with a friend. She was pacing outside the cafe, phone to her ear, speaking in a serious tone. I stayed in my car, not wanting to intrude, but I caught snippets like, "It's almost set," and "New start soon." My stomach dropped. I couldn't piece it together, but it didn't sound like a work issue or a friend drama. It felt bigger, like something she'd been orchestrating. When she got home, I asked how her coffee date went, keeping my tone light. She spun a detailed tale about her friend venting about a bad relationship. The story was so smooth it caught me off guard. A few days later, she brought up something odd. She suggested we organize our finances, bank accounts, passwords, documents, all in one place, just in case. I asked what she meant by just in case. She shrugged, saying, "You know, emergencies. What if something happens to one of us? Or we need to make a big financial move fast?" Her reasoning sounded logical, but the timing, combined with everything else, felt off. It was too calculated, like she'd rehearsed it. I nodded, saying, "Yeah, that makes sense." But inside, warning bells were ringing. Why now? Why this sudden need to consolidate our finances when we'd always kept them separate and flexible? That night I couldn't stop replaying her words, trying to decode them. Was I overthinking it, or was something really up? The phone calls, the cafe conversation, her growing distance, it was adding up, and I didn't like the picture it painted. I didn't act right away, but a few days later she brought it up again. We were in the kitchen, me slicing veggies for dinner, her scrolling on her phone. She casually asked, "Have you thought about organizing our accounts? Like, do you know where all the details are?" I set the knife down and turned to her. "Okay, what's going on?" I asked, keeping my voice steady but firm. "You've been mentioning finances a lot. Is there something we need to talk about?" She looked up, startled, and laughed it off. "No, nothing's wrong," she said quickly. "I just think it's smart, for emergencies." "Emergencies like what?" I pressed. She shrugged, her face unreadable. "Just life. It's not a big deal, I swear." Her answers were too vague, too evasive. I let it go, but her dodging only deepened my unease. It didn't feel like a casual suggestion anymore. It felt like she was hiding something. The next day, while she was at work, I checked our joint account online. What I found threw me. Small, unexplained transfers over the past month. Nothing huge, but amounts that didn't tie to bills, groceries, or anything obvious. I didn't want to assume the worst, but it looked like she was siphoning money for something I couldn't pinpoint. I thought about confronting her, but my instincts told me to hold off. If I was wrong, I'd look foolish. If I was right, I needed to be strategic. I reached out to a trusted friend from college who's also a lawyer. I laid out everything, trying not to sound like a tin-foil hat wearer. "Look," he said, "I'm not saying something's definitely up, but you're not crazy for being cautious. If you're worried, protect your assets now. Better safe than sorry." He guided me through steps to secure my finances if things went south. It felt extreme, like I was bracing for a storm I wasn't sure was coming. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. If she was planning something, and I was starting to believe she was, I had to protect myself. It wasn't just about money. It was about the life we'd built. I kept replaying memories, our wedding, late-night talks about our future, the goofy inside jokes. How did we end up here? Was this what our marriage had become? Taking those steps felt like admitting defeat, like I was giving up on the trust we'd shared. That evening, while she was out, I opened my laptop, hands trembling, and started reviewing everything: bank accounts, investments, the house deed. Each document felt like a betrayal, but a voice in my head insisted this was about survival, not sabotage. I didn't want to hurt her. I just couldn't shake the feeling that I'd regret not acting. I made a list of what I could transfer and how to do it discreetly. The weight in my chest grew heavier with every click. I'd trusted her completely for years, and now I was playing defense against the person I thought would always have my back. I called my mom, keeping it vague. "I need you to hold some things for me for a bit," I said. "It's just a precaution. Nothing serious." She paused, sensing there was more to it. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice laced with worry. "Yeah," I lied. "Just being careful." She didn't push, but I could hear the concern in her silence. "Whatever you need, honey," she said. Hanging up felt bittersweet, relief mixed with guilt for dragging her into this. By the time Kay got home, I'd started the process. I transferred most of my assets, savings, investments, even the house, into my mom's name. I left enough in our joint account to avoid suspicion, but the rest was locked down. She didn't notice. She walked in, pecked my cheek, and asked if I wanted to order pizza. I played it cool, but inside, I was a mess. Part of me felt like I'd betrayed her, but another part felt empowered, like I'd finally taken control of a situation slipping away. For the next few days, I kept up the act, not wanting her to suspect anything. She seemed content, even oddly cheerful at times, which only heightened my unease. Instead of reassuring me, it made me wonder what she was hiding. What stood out was that she stopped mentioning finances altogether, as if the topic had vanished from her mind. At first, I wondered if I'd overreacted, but then I realized she was avoiding it, like she was scared to bring it up after I'd questioned her. I caught her glancing at me sometimes, like she was gauging my mood or debating whether to say something. Whenever I noticed, she'd quickly shift her focus back to her phone or whatever she was doing. It felt like she was waiting for me to make a move, testing the waters without diving in. The silence only made me more anxious. It wasn't like her to drop something she'd seemed so set on, and her avoidance felt deliberate. If she was planning something, I wasn't going to give her an opening. Whatever was coming, I had to stay ahead. That night, I double-checked everything. I reviewed the paperwork, ensuring the asset transfers to my mom were airtight. The house, savings, investments, all were secured in an irrevocable trust. I even called her to confirm she had all the documents. 2 weeks passed, and things seemed almost too normal. Kay was suddenly warmer, chatting about random things like work or dinner plans. It threw me off because she'd been so distant for months. I started to wonder if I'd misread everything. Maybe it was just stress or something I didn't understand. But then, one Friday evening, she sat me down, turned off the TV, and said, "We need to talk." My heart sank. I knew what was coming before she said it. "I think we should get a divorce," she said, her voice eerily calm like she was reading a script. She talked about needing space, wanting to find herself, and feeling like she'd lost her spark in our marriage, generic breakup lines that explained nothing. Then she said something that shifted the tone. "I've given up so much for you, and I don't think you've ever truly valued it. I deserve better." That hit hard. It wasn't just that she wanted out. It was the way she framed it, like I owed her something, like I'd failed her, and she was entitled to more. As she spoke, a question gnawed at me. Why now? Then she mentioned, "A friend's been helping me see things clearly." A friend. I stayed quiet, letting her talk, but my mind was racing. Who was this friend? Why were they so involved? The way she said it wasn't casual. It felt like someone was coaching her, pushing her to see leaving me as a calculated move. The more she talked about her sacrifices, the less I bought it. Sacrifices? I'd supported her through everything, her job changes, her pricey retreats, her dreams. I'd moved for her, budgeted for her, showed up for her. I wasn't perfect, but I'd tried. Her "I deserve better" line didn't add up. It wasn't about me failing her, it was about something shifting in her. Maybe this friend, maybe something else. But the woman in front of me wasn't the one I'd married, and I wasn't going to let her rewrite our story to fit her new narrative. I didn't push back then. I just nodded and said, "If that's what you want, let's figure out the next steps." She seemed surprised I didn't fight or beg, but I was already thinking ahead. I needed to know who or what was driving this calculated change. She didn't just decide to leave one day. This was bigger, and I wasn't going to be caught off guard again. On Monday, I got the divorce papers. They weren't just about ending the marriage. They were a grab for everything. Half the house, my savings, my assets, the car, even vague spousal support demands that made no sense given her solid income. It felt like she expected to walk away with my entire life's work. At first, I thought it was spite, but the precision of her demands suggested someone was advising her. So I started digging. Confronting her directly wouldn't work, so I checked her social media. She hadn't blocked me, and though she rarely posted, I scanned her tagged photos and comments. That's when I noticed a pattern. A guy named Ryan kept liking and commenting on her posts. Nothing blatant, but enough to catch my eye. I clicked on his profile. Public, thankfully. He seemed like a typical 30-something marketing guy, but as I scrolled, I saw something odd. A photo from the same cafe I'd seen her at, posted the same day I overheard her new start conversation. My stomach churned. I kept digging and found more clues. A comment on her post saying, "You've got this," and a selfie that looked like it was taken at her new place. It wasn't hard proof, but it was enough to make me suspicious. I reached out to a mutual friend, Sarah, who'd known Kay for years. I kept it casual, asking if she'd talked to Kay lately or noticed anything off. Sarah shut me down fast, saying she didn't know anything and couldn't help. Her defensiveness felt like she was hiding something. Frustrated, I called another friend, Claire. I took the same approach, saying I was just trying to make sense of things. She was cagey at first, dodging my questions, then abruptly ended the call. I thought I'd hit another dead end, but then Claire called back. She said she needed to be sure it wouldn't come back to her. I promised it wouldn't, and after a pause, she spilled. Kay had been spending a lot of time with Ryan, a guy from work. Claire didn't know much, but she'd heard Ryan was heavily involved in the divorce advice Kay was getting. Hearing his name clicked everything into place. This wasn't just about her needing space. It was someone else steering her decisions. I decided to confirm it my way. That Saturday, I parked a block from her apartment building, watching to see if my suspicions were right. Hours later, Kay and Ryan walked out together. They weren't touching, but their closeness, the way they leaned in to talk, said enough. They got into his car and drove off. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. It was clear she hadn't just fallen out of love with me. She'd been planning a new life with someone else, and everything, the distance, the financial questions, the divorce demands, was part of it. She wasn't just leaving me, she was trying to leave with everything. That night, I went home, my mind spinning. The betrayal stung, but the premeditation hurt worse. She'd been using the divorce as a springboard to a new life with Ryan, but she didn't know I was ready for her. Thank you for watching Story. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more real-life stories.